this is Cadence from Florida, who is asking, does religion pollute politics? Hello, Cadence. How are you?
Hello, Cadence.
Good. How are you?
Very, very well. So, does
I'm Sunday best. I am the Sunday best.
Does religion pollute politics? I'm going to give you, let you make your ask your question, and I'm going to let Phoebe take it because this is her area of expertise. So
this is non-profits to the T. This is
let's not promote or disparage any particular parties or political figures in this. Let's keep it nice and neutral.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, Cadence, ask your question.
Right. Yeah. So I've just been noticing, my stepdad watches the news, and I've just been paying more attention to what's going on with the conflict with Israel and Palestine. And, in this instance, I don't take any sides, because it's both sad that innocent people are dying, on both sides. That's when I started kind of watching a little bit more of the news that my stepdad does, which is Fox News, but it doesn't matter. But and I just noticed that, like, I know you say don't call it one party, so I'm not, but I'm sure you can figure out that one side seems to really justify their policies and actions because of what they believe. And so I was wondering, do you guys think that religion makes politics even worse, or do you think it's what makes politics so horrible? Because I feel like a lot of Americans are on Team Israel, which, again, I'm not on either team, and I feel like it's very kind of going on blind faith because, they believe it's the Holy Land. And, but yeah, so what do you guys think about politics and religion? Does religion pollute politics, or is politics just bad by itself?
There's a lot to unpack there. And the issues going on in the Middle East have a lot of resonance with a lot of individuals around the world. A lot of my family members are quite animated on this. A lot of my friends are quite animated on this. I am an atheist, but I'm also ethnically Jewish. So that's a very interesting perspective that I end up with from a lot of individuals on this. But then on the other side, I have a lot of individuals who I know who are on the other side of that. And I think the issue in the middle here is that if we wind the clock back to 2001 and September the 11th, and we see the fallout of the politics and the religion that occurred there. So a lot of the politics ended up fueling a lot of anti-Islam and a lot of anti-Arabic sentiment, which was unjustified. And I think that element of the politics is quite polluting because we're seeing a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment, a lot of anti-Semitic sentiment, a lot of anti-Jewish sentiment, a lot of anti-Palestinian sentiment, which is also quite polluting as well as a result of this. And it's exemplified by what happened in, I think it was Vermont, where some Palestinian students were attacked, and that's quite polluting in and of itself. But we have also seen a rise in anti-Semitic hate crimes as a result, and that is very polluting. And I think that anytime you get religion involved, people are going to bring their own personal politics into things. And when I say personal politics, I don't mean partisan politics with a capital P. I mean politics with a small p here. And this will be things like what you hold to be your values and how that goes forward, and how you view yourself and your lens of viewing yourself. So after 9/11, a lot of Americans were deeply hurt by what happened, and they wanted an outlet to it. And it was a very toxic outlet that led to a lot of anti-Islam and a lot of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories coming forwards, and a lot of fairly strange things that were being said. Like, I remember when they were planning on building an Islamic cultural center in Manhattan, and they called it the 9/11 Mosque, which was, quite frankly, some of the strangest terminology I've ever heard used in relation to this. And when you do get things that are very political, that are tragedies, you have a tendency to polarize people, and things are seen very black and very white. And that in and of itself is the polluting element, because the shades of gray will always exist, and we will all be responsible for it. No matter how great a human being you are, we will all be responsible. When there is something that affects us deeply, that is a tragedy, we will begin to move towards those black and white extremes. And we have an issue where your own personal politics and your own religion or your perception of the religion of others will be affecting how you respond, and that can be very polluting in either a sympathetic way or an antagonistic way, depending on how you yourself respond to it. So, for example, people could be very sympathetic to the individuals who were responsible for certain acts of terrorism. And even using the word act of terrorism is in and of itself in the eye of the person saying it, because the term terrorism has many different meanings as you go around different people. Because what is one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, as they say. I mean, you just have to look at some of the terminology that was used regarding Nelson Mandela. To some people, he is a terrorist. To some people, and to a vast majority of people, he is a person who was fighting for the freedom of South Africa from apartheid. But it all depends on your perspective. And when you go to the extremes, that's the pollution. And you must never allow yourself to go to those extremes, because when you hit those extremes, you can find it very difficult to see what the reasonable questioning answers are in the middle. Why is this happening? What is the solution to this? Not, you did this, I'm going to get back at you.
And I was gonna ask too, because I'm very middle with everything. I'm very in the middle with politics, so I tend to offend both sides at some points. But why do you think it's so difficult for some people to see the middle ground? Of situations? Do you think that has to do with like media? Extreme media? What's your take on that?
My opinion, it's personally insecurity from the person. The person is insecure to a point where they aren't confident in their own convictions. So they will generally take a position that sits where they feel most comfortable. And if they can avoid being the center of attention because they are insecure about what that will do to them, they may follow other individuals. And we see that in all walks of life. So you take a classroom full of students, the most secure person in the room is the one that's going to put their hand up and say, I think the answer is this. Insecure people in that classroom aren't going to go, oh, yes, the answer is this, because it's where they're not comfortable doing it.
Right. I see. Okay. Yeah, I just, I've been an atheist for about 2 years, maybe. Well, truly, I don't think I ever believed. I think it was just because I was brought up. I just said I was Christian. But I've noticed a lot about the world, that, like you said, it's not so black and white as some people might think. And I also called a few weeks ago. I think I was talking with you and Jimmy about, my family, some of my family kind of like telling me that I'm lost because I don't believe in God and stuff. And I was just also curious, I get very, this is a little sideline, I'll make it quick. When I've been very outspoken about my atheism because even like online on Facebook, not every day, but and they seem to get very upset. They didn't care about what I believed in until it was something they didn't believe in. And I'm just wondering, should I be so vocal about it, or should I just let them believe what they want? Because they seem to get very upset.
How comfortable are you, Cadence? Because I think that all depends on how comfortable you are doing it. If you're very comfortable having these conversations, then continue to have them. If you're not comfortable, or if it's going to put you in a difficult spot, if you're like financially reliant on anyone, then there's no harm in not having these conversations, especially with those close around you. It doesn't stop you interacting with people kind of outside your immediate friends and families or online. But certainly, it all for me, it's all about how comfortable you are doing it. Being outspoken, being an activist, all these things is not for everyone. And it comes with having or developing a little bit of a thick skin along the lines of it. People like me and Phoebe have been doing this for a long, long time. And, if you're only just starting to have these conversations, you might not be in a position where you feel comfortable talking to everybody and, going through the nitty-gritty with everybody on all these different subjects. And there's no harm in not doing it. There's self-care is the most important thing, and you being comfortable with yourself. And, I would say do it to the extent that you are comfortable doing it. I don't know if Phoebe has anything to add on that.
What I would say is what Richard said at the beginning. Preaching is the least effective way to convince anybody or to have a conversation on the merits of what you're talking about. So if you're having a conversation with them that is a genuine dialogue, in my opinion, that's wonderful. If you are going in there and saying Christianity is bunk and, Judaism is, hokum and Islam is trash, you're not going to get anywhere. Or equally, if you go, atheism is the greatest, atheism is the only way forward, you are an idiot and you shouldn't be doing this, that, and the other, you're not going to get anywhere with them because people are going to put the defenses up and they're just going to go off. Yeah. And they're going to tell you where the sun doesn't shine. So if you are having conversations with somebody, have a conversation with them as a friend, as a family member. Don't have a conversation with them as someone who's going in there to try to change their mind. Have a conversation with them where you're going to try to extract what they actually believe. I have found the conversations that I have that are the most productive are where you talk and you disagree. Because that disagreement that you have shows the other person that you hold them to be an equal in the conversation. And nobody likes to be seen as anything other than an equal in a conversation. Because then you feel infantilized and you feel like you're being treated like a child. And you're more likely to get an honest conversation with someone if you are having a dialogue that is on the same level.
Yeah, because my granddad last night texted me and was like, you need to stop putting that stupid crap on Facebook about atheism. And, I stood my ground, but I was really polite because he's my granddad, but I'm pretty comfortable with having these conversations. Sometimes I do get a little heated with them. I think it's better to talk about it in person, than over online, because I think when you talk in person with anybody about anything, there's kind of that mutual respect already, as opposed to online where it's like you can say whatever you want, and get away with it. So
there's also the context. A lot of context is missed when you're talking, especially on formats like Facebook, where it's a text-based format. You can be saying something perfectly reasonable, and it can come across as really aggressive. And it can be really difficult to have a nuanced conversation using non-verbal formats or even non-visual formats where you're not picking up on people's body language. So it's worth bearing that in mind when you're having these conversations as well. That's not to say don't have just non-visual textual conversations, because you can have them, but it's worth being aware that nuance is often missed while you're having them.
Yes, yeah, that's very true. I mean, communication is more than just words, it's body language and whatnot. I know you got other callers. I just want to thank you guys. I started watching y'all's show not too long ago. Well, first it was the Atheist Experience, but anyhow, I just want to thank you guys for, speaking for, well, maybe not all of us, but most of us. And just thank you and keep doing what you guys are doing.